everyone. Welcome to the Back to School webinar with Roast and the paid media team specifically. So just as a small introduction, we'll just be kind of going through context and kind of introducing ourselves in the first few minutes, just as we kind of wait for participants to pull in. But the main, I guess, goal of today is just to go through updates across the last 3 to 4 months on tools, techs and trends across both PPC, social, and then a few Amazon channels at the end as well. So first, we'll just have a few small introductions with the team.
Yep.
Cool. George, do you want to introduce yourself first?
Yeah, so I'm George. I'm one of the PPC team leads at Roast, along with Rebecca, that you can see there as well. So alongside managing some clients, we're also managing the department and the resource and everything like that. I've been with Roast about 4 years exactly now, actually. So happy anniversary to me. On to you, Rebecca.
Lovely. So I'm Rebecca, the other PPC team lead at Roast. And yeah, similar to George, we kind of do marketing strategies across, I guess, a mixture of PPC, paid social, Amazon, and app as well. And yeah, alongside George, I've been here almost 5 years, coming up to as well at Roast. And James?
Yep, I'm James. I'm a paid media account manager at Roast. Haven't been here quite as long as the other two, 3.5 years now. And I will work with a variety of clients across paid social and paid search channels to get them the best performance for their media spend.
Lovely. So just as you know, guys, we'll kind of be running through a bit of context on all the industry updates. If you have any questions, there's a Q&A at the bottom of the chat. If you just pop them in, and what we'll do when we finish each set, the end of the kind of deck, we'll kind of run through those questions and answer them as well. Cool. So if we just go on and we just talk about the context for the webinar. So basically, we'll be running through paid search updates, paid social updates, some Amazon shopping, and then holiday season in 2021. So just kind of trends and what to expect in Q4. And then finally, a few privacy updates. And as well as mentioned, we'll do the Q&A right at the end.
Cool.
Lovely. So I'll hand over to James to run through the paid search updates.
Yeah. Are we ready to start, or should we wait a few more minutes? I think. All right, let's go for it. So this first section, we'll be looking at some of the changes across the paid search landscape, particularly for the products. So across Google Ads and then Microsoft Ads. So starting with the biggest change, or we believe the biggest change, from June 2022, responsive search ads are set to become the only ad format in Google Ads. So expanded text ads will no longer be allowed to be added. For anyone who maybe doesn't know what responsive search ad is, Google introduced them in 2018. And essentially, rather than provide 3 headlines and 2 descriptions and run a specific ad, you provide up to 15 headlines and 4 description lines, and Google will pick and choose the most appropriate ad for the user seeing it. So optimize towards your conversion goals. So whether you want them to spend the most money or to take a profitable action on your website, Google's smart bidding will decide which format or which version of the ad the user should see. So they show to the user in the same way as an expanded text ad, as we can see on the right, with just 3 headlines and 2 descriptions. But you give a lot of power to Google Ads to optimize towards the best performing assets. Google suggests that advertisers that switch from expanded text ads to responsive search ads, using even the same assets as they were using before, and also use broad match keywords and smart bidding strategies, see an average of 20% more conversions for the same cost per conversion. So in a similar vein or related to this is how advertisers that have strict compliance restrictions can make use of responsive search ads. So in the past, for some of our clients and many advertisers, they have struggled to get their claim substantiations into their ads. And so responsive search ads would potentially make that more complicated. Thankfully, you can use pinned headlines and descriptions to make sure that your claim is showing alongside the substantiation. This is a great way of meeting those compliance restrictions and regulations, whilst also using the responsive search ads. We have found at Roast that when using responsive search ads versus expanded text ads, we see a 32% higher click-through rate and a 12% higher conversion rate. So we do recommend, where possible, giving Google some flexibility to make use of the responsive search ad, but also using these pinned headlines and descriptions to ensure you're meeting your compliance regulations. Cool. The next update is to do with the broad match keywords. So earlier this year, when we've started, Google has recommended using broad match keywords. In the past, they recommended using exact match and broad match modifier keywords, but we lost the broad match modifier keywords earlier this year. They no longer really exist, or at least you can't add them into your campaigns. You can use phrase match keywords instead. Google's now recommending advertisers to add broad match keywords into their accounts. You can see this within the recommendations tab in Google Ads. But alongside that, they've now set up an experiment that you can run for broad match keywords. So if you're a bit hesitant to add them in, or you've seen negative performance from them in the past, you can add in an experiment to add these broad match keywords into your campaign, but not show 100% of the time for them, or not use your whole budget on them. And Google claims that on average, advertisers that use broad match keywords will see a 25% uplift in conversions from target cost per acquisition campaigns, and a 12% uplift across target ROAS campaigns, while still meeting the targets from previously. So as you can see in the small screenshot at the bottom, it's quite easy to add this into your account. You can Have I been muted the whole time? Or did someone mute me? I'll carry on. So you can add this as an experiment. Cool. You can add this as an experiment to your campaign easily within the recommendations tab. Okay. Updates to the search query report. So this is a change from Google. So what we've seen earlier this year, Google updated the search query reports to stop showing search queries that had a low number of impressions and clicks. They did this to protect privacy. So they didn't believe that showing this data in the search queries report met their updated privacy thresholds. But from September, i.e. this month, they've now started to show queries that have a high number of impressions but no clicks. These historically haven't been available to advertisers, and they're also going to backdate this to February. So you'll be able to see this data for most of this year. This is really useful because within the search query report, sometimes you go in and a very small proportion of your impressions are actually visible to you. So here you'll be able to see queries that have a high number of impressions but no clicks. They're also making a change to the update they made in February this year. So they're going to remove the historical query data collected before September the 1st, 2020, that doesn't meet the new privacy thresholds. So if you want to make use of this data, it's really important that you go in to your accounts and download it before February the 1st next year. And then we've just got a quick timeline of these changes. So They limited the data in February 2021. This month, they've added in a new set of the data that we've historically never been able to see for high impression, no click search terms. And then from next February, they're going to remove the search queries that were impacted by the change in February 2021. They're going to remove all of the historical data for that. The next two updates are both related to Microsoft Ads. So the first and probably the most interesting of the two is the ability to import your Facebook ads from Facebook campaigns into Microsoft Ads and serve these across the Microsoft Audience Network. So these will save you time and help you to reach a wider audience across Microsoft Ads. So you don't need to set these up again. You can just import directly from Facebook. This change has been rolled out across the United States, the United Kingdom, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, France, and Germany, and is designed to maximize your return on investment by reaching a wider audience. And then the final change across the search product is the addition of the optimization score on Microsoft Ads. So I believe the optimization score has been around on Google for just over 2 years, and it's now been added in to Microsoft Ads. It sits there really just to recommend changes you can make to your campaign to improve performance. So this could be adding new keywords, new ad copy, or extensions, and is essentially there just for advertisers to help ensure that their campaigns are set up correctly and doing the most to improve their performance. Great. So this next section, George is going to cover, so I'm going to hand over to him.
Thank you, James. Yeah, so this is more platform updates on Google. It's a bit more admin-y in terms of some of the changes they've been making. So starting off with a lot of verification they've been doing across, well, for everyone, depending on the industry you're in. If we can move on to the next slide. Cool. So there's multiple different verifications that are in play on Google at the moment. So advertiser verification is the initial one, which has been rolling out over the past 6 months or so. This is hitting everybody just because they want everyone who's advertising on Google to be registered with them. It's very simple. It's mostly based on your billing information. If you're paying monthly invoices, then you're basically set up. You essentially just need to tick a box. Super easy. What we've seen recently is additional requirements for UK financial services. And this actually impacted us without much warning from Google, which has been a bit frustrating. So on certain accounts across insurance and finance, we've seen ads just stop serving because of this requirement. We can see that it's a lot more detailed in what they actually need. So you have to have your FCA registration number and the domains and websites which are registered with that as well needs to be provided, as well as it coming from an authorized representative of the business in order to get this approved. There's no timeline on this one, like there is on some of the other verifications. But if it's not done, you will see your ads be limited. And if it's not happened already and you're in this vertical, then it might be something to keep an eye out for because we didn't see it by email, only a banner at the top of the Google Ads account. So it's definitely worth checking. Similar to this is the other type of verification we've seen recently, which they've called business operation verification. This is a bit more in depth. So it's got about 14 questions, and it's essentially Google trying to understand your business and what you do, the services you provide, and a relationship you have with the advertiser if you're working with an agency, for example. This one does have a time limit, so it's about 21 days until your account will actually stop running once it starts appearing. But again, this hasn't come through via email notification. It's only ever been a banner in the top of the Google Ads account. So this doesn't seem like it's restricted to any specific vertical or industry. So definitely keep an eye out on this, because there is a time limit on it, and the ads will stop serving if it's not done. Google reckon it takes about 15 minutes to fill out the form. And again, if you're an agency, it's something the client will need to fill out, because it's all about their business, as we can see from some of the examples on the right. It's a bit more involved. And then finally, the other piece of news on the Google side of things is more tax. So they're rolling this out from October as part of the digital services tax, but it's going to be running across Italy, France, India, and Spain now as well at 2% each. Since November last year, it's already been applied in the Turkey, UK, and Austria at varying levels. If you're not advertising in those regions, then obviously it doesn't impact you. But if you're a global business, then you're actually going to be starting to take a bit of a hit on what you're getting out of your media spend. So it's worth a conversation to see whether you need to increase investment to offset this and remain achieving the same level of reach which you've been getting, or if you just need to accept that with your budget, you're now actually going to be able to serve fewer ads as a result. Google is still the only one which is passing this on to advertisers. So Facebook and Microsoft, for example, are still swallowing that cost themselves, but it remains to be seen whether they'll change their mind as more of these roll out, because it's going to start becoming more expensive for them. But if we're being taxed additionally across multiple platforms, then it's going to have to maybe tighten the purse strings on which platforms you decide to advertise on. Great. And now Rebecca is going to run through paid social updates.
Lovely. Thanks, George. So yeah, we'll just run through a few channels, mainly Facebook and Instagram, but we do have a few smaller updates on Twitter, Snapchat, and TikTok. And just a reminder, if you have any questions, please add in the Q&A at the bottom. Lovely. So first of all, we'll discuss Facebook updates. So just on, I guess, Facebook lead gen. So as we all know, lead gen is where you can advertise on Facebook and people can fill in form fills in directly in Facebook rather than like leading them to your website. I guess Facebook has taken some feedback from both businesses and advertisers on sometimes across a few clients or industry verticals. We can see kind of like a high number of leads, but not a great quality amount of leads once we've actually contacted them to try and produce the sale. So what Facebook have done off the back of this feedback is they're trying to now integrate with people's, I guess, CRM systems and sales funnels. So instead of optimizing towards just people completing the forms on Facebook themselves, it's actually optimizing towards the lead on your end. So the completion of the sale or sign up. So what you can do is it's recommended to take advantage by connecting either to your CRM system and kind of sharing information back and forth with Facebook on kind of what leads that or form completions on Facebook actually led to a sale. So Facebook can start optimizing towards these sales rather than just the quantity on Facebook itself. So it's more focusing on the conversion rate and more focused on the bottom end of your funnel. But again, it only works well if you kind of integrate with your sales funnel. What Facebook have seen is when they kind of increase and use your first party, I guess, more connecting with your CRM system, is they've actually seen an increase of lead conversions of around 20% as well. Lovely. And then for the next slide, just going on is the Facebook campaigns idea generator has launched. So this is just launched at the beginning of July, but it's kind of a simple system of where you can add in your kind of industry business and add in a holiday. And what Facebook will do is give you a few campaign ideas. I guess what I have seen since using this platform myself is when you kind of select a industry. So for example, here we've chosen retail on the right. If you kind of choose a few different holidays, the ideas kind of generally don't change. So I'd say it's kind of quite rudimental at the moment. What is nice is that there is a few kind of data insights that you can get off this as well. So for example, in the right-hand corner, it kind of gives you insights on how people are engaging with Facebook, depending on your industry vertical. So for example, here is the automatives, is that 85% of males actually engage with brand post past purchase. So there's a few nice little insights that you can kind of gather from this as well. What I would say is like it's more keep an idea on the campaign's idea generator, because yeah, as mentioned before, it's kind of quite basic at the moment for some industries, but this kind of might improve along the way. Okay. And yeah, a few other updates on Facebook. So there's a few updates on Facebook, I guess, with their privacy policies, but also how you can advertise. One of them is now actually giving younger people a bit of a safer experience on all Facebook platforms. So this includes Facebook, Instagram, and Messenger. So what Facebook have done is they've actually updated the way advertisers can target people below 18 or older, if it depends on different countries, but basically non-adults. You can now actually only target them based on age, gender, and location. So before you were able to layer on like, I guess, interest targeting, what activity they might have done across your app. This is actually no longer available for this audience. What this has done is it's in global effectively as of July as well. So it's across all regions. And then one of the last Facebook updates is just optimizing text per person feature. So when creating an ad, we've also noticed like you can now add in kind of multiple primary text, headlines, and descriptions. And basically Facebook will make different permutations of your ad and show it to show it to users in the permutation that will kind of work well for people to respond. What they've now done is you can now kind of tick box optimize text per person. So what this will do is take your primary text, headlines, and descriptions and maybe show them in different placements. So very similar to what Google and Bing have done with responsive search ads, is it's going to create different permutations of your ad. What I would say is sometimes it might show your headlines in like the primary text position or the description placement as well. So what it will do is move these around and test them and optimize them, I guess, towards each individual. So when creating perhaps multiple primary text, headlines, and descriptions, you've got to be careful that they all kind of make sense together, because I guess 3 of your headlines could actually appear in all of these placements. The nice thing they've done as well is kind of when you're creating ads, this isn't automatically enabled as well, because sometimes we've seen with previous Facebook features, it can catch you by surprise when you first create ads, is when they create new features like this, they automatically enable it. But this is something you'll have to enable yourself across each ad. Lovely. And now just moving on to Instagram. So one of the first updates is for Instagram Reels. So if anyone's kind of not aware of Instagram Reels, they were launched back in 2020. And they're just, I think, maximum 30-second videos for entertainment purposes. Similar to what I guess on Snapchat, it's now used actually on Instagram. So back in April 2021, they've been kind of testing advertisement between Reels on this placement, only in a few countries such as the US, UK, and Canada. But as of June, Instagram have now launched Reel ads across worldwide as well. What I would say is Reel ads are quite good for testing kind of brand awareness and trying to get a bit more engagement towards your shoppers. So if you have some high quality videos, they might be worth testing on this new placement as well. Lovely. And one of the other updates that Instagram have done is to get inspired by fellow businesses. So this is kind of a new hub page within Instagram where you can kind of go on and look at a different business and see kind of what they're posting, one, organically, or alternatively, see what they're posting or promoting with advertisement. So very similar, I guess, to what Facebook previously launched with the Facebook ads library. You can now go on and actually see what content each business is either posting organically or kind of promoting. The reason they've kind of done this is to hope to inspire people to post more brand specific content. But I think it's kind of also good for kind of competitor research as well, just to see, I guess, if brands have a particular theme or kind of what they're kind of pushing quite heavily for advertisement? And is it quite different to how they talk to their consumers or customers through organic as well? Lovely. And one of their new updates is towards the Instagram shop. So before, this has always just been a place where you can kind of go and discover new brands and perhaps purchase them, but it's always kind of been a bit more of an organic space until now, because now you can actually advertise within the shop tab ads. So for example, here is the advertisement shows a bag, but once you click through, basically it will lead to a product page. So you'll still be within the Instagram app, and then you can choose to the website. What I would say with the Instagram shop tab ads as well is it highly relies on assets. So there's not really much ad copy or descriptions or headlines that actually go alongside this when in the shop tab. It's mainly just kind of your brand, your asset, and of course this word sponsored. So it's mainly, I think, when you're looking at advertising these, try to really focus on the asset itself, because that's going to be the main reason people will actually click through to your product as well. I would say the consumer journey is a bit longer, I guess, as well, but considering you're going towards the product page actually on Instagram first before you actually go to the website to purchase and see a few further details. This ad is actually only rolling out on countries where the Instagram shop tab is available as well. So it's not available worldwide at the moment. And just a few updates on some of the, I guess, smaller social media platforms. So Snapchat only have one update in kind of the last few months, is their Snapchat trends. So it's not available in the app or anything. It's actually available on trendsnapchat.com. So you have to go to their website. But basically you can just see for a few select locations. So this is only available in the UK, US, Canada, and Australia. But you can see what the top trends were for last week. So when we pulled this back in September, we were going through the heat wave. So one of the top trends was heat wave in the UK. But what you can also do on Snapchat trends is search for specific terms. For example, fashion, or fashion is the example below, just to see how it's trending over time, to see if kind of, I guess, interest is increasing or decreasing on the platform. It might be good to look at kind of other businesses as well to see if, sorry, to see if their interest is starting to increase across these. It's a good way as well, because there's ways you can apply these trends to your business. So market research, see if there's anything relating to your product that's starting to kind of increase of traction across Snapchat. 2, looking at kind of creative messaging and copywriting to kind of see what's trending quite highly in your kind of business industries. 3 is looking at business profiles and personas. And 4 is kind of looking at research in key moments. So if there is just a boom kind of in your industry that's most likely only going to be quite short-lived, so like a week or 2, it might be good to push some ads live. And 5 is just competitor research. So seeing if there's been a significant increase in any other businesses as well that are similar to your field. And 1 for Twitter. So this was not an advertisement placement, but it was something that could have potentially become an advertisement placement into the future. But basically, Twitter fleets are no longer available as of August. So what fleets were is they were short-term videos or posts or reactions or kind of text or tweets that were deleted in 24 hours. So very similar, I guess, to some of the Snapchat features. And this was launched at the end in November last year. But basically, Twitter have no longer decided to keep this going, just because they haven't seen an increase of users actually using it in the platform itself as they originally hoped. So they've just decided to discontinue this feature. And lastly is TikTok. So they've introduced Spark ads. So these are very similar to Facebook and Instagram boosted posts. So what Spark ad does is it enables you to amplify existing organic content and boost post it, basically. So use it for advertisement. So it's good if you don't have, I guess, assets or ad copy available to actually make a ad copy where you can actually just use your organic post in. Another great flexibility is this: you can actually use other people's content and post and boost that. but this is with their permission. So if another creator has quite a good organic posting about your business, it's kind of getting a lot of engagement, you can seek their permission to start pushing that with advertisement as well. But this is, yeah, very, very relatively new as of July as well. Lovely. So in the next section, we'll just go through a few different updates across Amazon advertising. So firstly is the custom bid optimization towards sponsored display ads. So before with display ads, you've only really been able to use manual CPC bids and kind of optimize it towards, I guess, placement. What you can now do is optimize it to a few different funnel features. So very top funnel is optimize it towards viewable impressions. Mid funnel, optimize it towards traffic, so getting more page visits to your product listings. Or bottom funnel is optimize it towards conversions, so to drive a higher conversion rate. So depending, I guess, on your bidding strategy and what you want to use sponsored, I guess, display ads for, whether it's brand awareness, bringing traffic, or actually bringing a sale in, you can now optimize the campaigns towards this bidding feature. Well, I would say it's probably worth testing against your manual CPC ads, because before with some of the optimized for conversion ads as well, you can see CPCs or bids kind of increase by 100%. So sometimes the ACoS might not be as strong. I would recommend, yeah, testing on kind of 1 or 2 campaigns before actually using this feature across all your campaigns. This feature is available across most destinations. I think the only one it's not available, to be honest, Europe, in the Netherlands, but that's a relatively new space for Amazon advertising as well. But across all the other Europe and North America and Middle East and Asia, it's available now. Lovely. And just one other one with Amazon ads is introducing a new creative asset library. This is only available in the US at the moment, but they'll probably roll it out to other locations going forward as well. But what the asset library is, it allows you to create and store and organize all your kind of assets into one place. So before, when we kind of created sponsored brand ads, you'd have to re-upload the assets or videos each time you'd want to use them. So Amazon have made this space where you can upload all your assets so you can actually use them in your advertisement a bit easier. So you don't have to upload them again and again each time. You can also like search, sort and filter by name, tag products and other attributions, but it's mainly just to make it a bit more easier for when you build your store page or for sponsored brand ads, where you can use these creative assets in the future. So yeah, as mentioned before, it's only available in the US and kind of Canada and Mexico, but we probably will see this feature roll out to Europe and other destinations in the next few months. And lastly is a very small update for Amazon ads is just across the sponsored brand. So they just have a few logo updates. It started just right at the end of August, but basically what you need to do for every sponsored brand ad, so the one that includes free assets right at the top, is you need to actually use a true brand logo going forwards as well. So some of the requirements is your brand logo must fill the entire image and be on like a white or transparent background. It must not contain any crowded or other elements, and it must not include any of your product ASINs or be like a lifestyle image. So they kind of just want purely your brand logo in the simplest form possible as well. Lovely. And now I'll hand over to George for this section.
Thank you. Yeah. So somehow we're almost at October, and it means we need to start thinking about the end of year sales periods. So starting off is just looking at what happened last year. So globally, holiday digital sales topped 1.1 trillion. And we can see that 45% of all this spend occurred before the end of Cyber Week, which we can see on this graph since the middle of November to the end of the year. Black Friday and Cyber Monday are where we naturally see the peaks, and actually they are far more important for digital sales than we can see throughout the rest of December. Year on year, the actual week before Cyber Week, because everyone is starting their sales earlier, which is something to consider, there was an 83% increase in revenue year on year here as well. So it's not enough to just be present on those weekends. People are actually buying earlier. plans need to be in place, and you need to prepare ahead of the actual sale periods as well. Year-on-year Black Friday spend increased 30% and Cyber Monday grew 18%. So Black Friday is the bigger deal as people are more likely to purchase on that day, but it's still no small amount being spent on Cyber Monday either, at 43 billion globally. What is important to consider is that the landscape now is quite different to what it was last year. So it's expected that in-store visits are going to increase about 85% this year because now it's possible again. So it's important maybe not to use 2020 figures as too much of a benchmark, because everyone converted to digital last year, essentially. In the UK, digital revenue grew about 73% year on year, with much higher search demand than there has ever been before. But it's still important to maintain your presence online, even if people are potentially going in store, because people can be influenced by what they've seen, potentially do their research and buy in store, or see something in store and then want to research it online, and you also still need to be present for that. But yeah, we might not see the same sort of growth year on year as people have more options now. But there's going to be a lot of these users who did convert to digital users last year and may also continue that trend because it's easier, because they still don't want to go into a busy high street or something like that. So I believe it will be a bit more of a mix, and we might see a slight decrease year on year. With that in mind, there are some tools in Google Ads that can potentially be used for this, called seasonal adjustments. So these are for when you are expecting a much higher conversion rate over a short period of time than you would normally expect. So in the example below, you can say that you think conversion rate is going to double over this 3-day sale period. What this does is essentially let Google prepare with the smart bidding algorithms, and it means that it's not trying to catch up. It's aware that conversion rates are going to be higher, and it can adjust before that and also after that. So it's not going to take about 2 weeks for it to get back to normal behavior. It can go back to what normal performance looks like almost instantly. It's not something which should be used regularly, only for really significant changes, such as Black Friday weekend, where we expect more sales than anywhere else. Most of the time, smart bidding and machine learning will pick up and adjust based on these fluctuations and most seasonal events, and nothing else is needed to be done. But yeah, if there are significantly higher conversion rates expected, then this is something to look into, just to make sure that it can naturally adapt quite quickly and you can get the most out of your ad performance. And then another consideration is from surveys which have been done actually of TikTok users. Is quite a good emerging user base and quite a unique audience. What we can see here kind of verifies what we saw originally, in that most people are shopping before Cyber Monday, so about 35% of users on TikTok at least. And then people are buying their gifts a lot in advance of Christmas. So about 62% of people are starting to plan their gifts about 2 months before. It's actually an important consideration this year with Brexit and supply issues. As it actually gets closer to the date, there might be more likely supply issues. So people are potentially going to be planning even more in advance at this point in time as well. So having stores set up and everything planned out to capture those users is going to be important, because I think it will shift forward a bit as well, even now. And expected spend from the average TikTok user is expected to be about £200, growing 9% on last year. This helps as well with some of the changes TikTok have been making in making shopping easier as well, which I imagine is part of this. But aside from direct revenue, there's also branding opportunities, such as celebrating and acknowledging some of the lesser known holidays, which don't always need to be, you know, direct revenue drivers. But 70% of TikTokers do notice brands celebrating niche holidays. So from an awareness and a sort of brand loyalty perspective, that can also be valuable, but maybe don't expect, you know, a big Giving Tuesday sale to come out of it, or lots of revenue to come out of that. And lastly, just finishing up is just some updates on the ongoing privacy updates from the Google perspective. They've obviously been working on this. The biggest change is that they have delayed when they are planning to roll this out. So it's still been a bit of a confusing time in what these changes are going to be, and even Google are still trying to work it out themselves. So they're working on their privacy sandbox, which is developing, or they're testing and developing a few different alternatives to third-party tracking, but they clearly don't have any one specific route which they're going down at the moment. So they have delayed it, and they roll out this on Chrome. So you can see sort of the timeline of this is going to be a lot of testing in late 2022. So there's quite a big gap here across a few different stages, with publishers and developers sort of getting first access for quite a long period of time. And then actually they're not going to roll out, or they're not going to stop third-party cookie support until about mid-2023. So it is quite a significant delay, but it's not to say we can all wait. It's still important to get your first-party data set up, ensure you're tracking everything you can, and moving away from this as much as possible where possible, because it probably will creep up. There'll probably be a lot more updates in this time, and changes to what we may need to do to keep on top of it all. So this is just going to be one to keep an eye on over the next year or so as we get more information. And I imagine as they go into testing, they'll narrow down exactly what their solution is going to be. And that is all of the updates that we have. I don't believe there have been any questions so far, but if there have been, feel free to enter them into the chat and we can try and answer anything which might have come up. Or if there are no questions, then I guess everybody have a great day.
Cool. Thanks everyone for your time this morning. Thanks for joining us. Have a great day.